There you go. I forgot which buttons that I used to start and stop this thing. Righto. In this video, I've been asked to just show some people some basics on Bitcoin trading or trading the crypto markets. So I'm just going to do my analysis. Those that are interested can have a look. Those that aren't interested, don't worry about looking. So the first thing, there's four main things that I look at with crypto, actually with any charts. And the first thing being, well, is the candlesticks. This is on the weekly chart, so I'll just move that over to the daily chart. We'll have a closer look. So looking at the daily chart, so the first thing that I'll look at is the candlesticks on the daily chart. The second thing that I'll look at is the volume, and in between all these is the moving averages. The moving averages is that's the 200-day moving average, the red one. The 50-day moving average is the blue one. 20-day moving average is the grey one. And the 8-day moving average, exponential moving average, is the 8. That's the one that I look at to track daily performance pretty much. So when I'm looking at the candles, and also the volume, the main reason, and stochastics up here as well, when the stochastics are high like this, it's probable that, at some stage pretty soon that, we'll see a decline. As soon as you see this crossover, it's a good idea to look out for a reversal candle set up. Over here, it doesn't look too bad actually. I've seen this go for months and months, or actually no, sorry, not months and months, probably weeks. 6 to 8 weeks is probably the longest that I've seen this last up here. But it's a good indicator for when they see the market turning. So as soon as we see something that's and also another thing is when it's fully extended. Like this is one thing, from the 200 all the way up to the top here. It's super extended. So it kind of needs to have a breather. But then again, we're looking at a huge amount of power that's coming into the markets here. Also, another thing that I look at is patterns as well. This here is what Bill O'Neill would call a cup, and it comes around to about here, and then this would probably be the handle coming down to about here. So I'll just draw that out, just so you kind of get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So that would be the cup going out to about there, and then that would be the handle going down to about there, like something like that anyway. So what we want to see here is volume drying out down the bottom here, which basically means that there's less people selling, and this is where the smart money starts to accumulate, and every single day of volume counts. So when but what we want to see down here is more green volume than red volume in a general sense. By the way, this blue wave here, that's below average volume is everything underneath it. Above average volume is everything above it. So we're looking for big above average volume days. And especially on breakout days, like this one here was a classic breakout day. That was perfect. That was the first entry there. You probably saw me about a month ago or something like that. Well, that was the day that made me go, hang on a minute, Bitcoin's moving. And so this day here, you can see, the big money's moved in here, and also it accumulated here as well. Then we had a little bit of a profit-taking day, and then you can see that even the volume down here, it is still on the increase. Like we had a small volume day there. Even though there's an indecision day there, we had more people accumulate than distribute. So, and same here again. In general, there's more weight in the buying than what there is in the selling. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. And if there's a selling day like this here, and then there's another selling day just after it, the biggest thing that counts to me is on that selling day, is it more volume or less volume? And we can see clearly here that it's less volume on this selling day. So this to me didn't look like a big time reversal. Like it doesn't always work, but it probably works about 7 times out of 10. Most of these things that I talk about work about 7 times out of 10. And by the way, I'm always looking for a breakout before I purchase. So it has to break out. It has to have a long consolidation period beforehand in general for me to start looking at buying into this market. So I was fully invested after this day here. And then but I was very prepared for it to come back down and test the 200. If it would have come down and closed below the 200, I would have been straight back out. But anyway, so it didn't, and it's kind of traveled up here. So From here, what I'm watching for is what I'm watching for here is the 8 EMA. I want to see that 8 EMA, everything live above pretty much that 8 EMA. As soon as it closes below that 8 EMA, my general rule is to get out. Now, the only reason why I didn't get out at this stage here, now I'm still quite wary about where the market is right now. It still needs to prove itself. But in saying that, though, this is the biggest breakout that we've had for probably 18 months. But you can see, let's just have a look at these days here. One thing that I also trade as well is I never make buying and selling decisions at any time of the day. I only ever do it at the end of day data. So end of day data for me is 10 a.m. So that's on Bitcoin USD, 10 a.m. So I only make my decisions at 10 a.m. and I either buy or sell at that stage. And then I turn the computer off and go about my day and do websites and all that sort of stuff. So, but if we have a look here on this turning day, you can see the green that day there. So we, as we increased here, there was less buying. You can see that in the volume. And anyway, as there was less buying, you should have known that there was going to be some sort of a turnaround simply because there was less people buying. So sooner or later, the weight had to change. It's a bit like a seesaw, really. Like once it goes up, it's got to come down. Anyway, this was a classic reversal pattern here. So end of day data would have been around about 78, 71 would have been your selling price at that stage. But you wouldn't have to sell there. That would be your exit price. On this very next day here, it opened, it travelled up a little bit higher, and then went below the the close of the previous day. That was the time to sell right there if you were going to get out here. And so you could have set stops right for there, which is pretty much what I do. But and so here, we don't have an end of day. We've got a pretty good rise today. And, as we can see, we've got the 50-day moving average moving up, 20-day moving average moving up, and the 8 EMA is traveling very well. But what we don't have at this stage is good volume for this day that we're talking about right now. So the good volume should come in or even decline and turn around and go back down. The markets can do absolutely everything. All I do is follow the market. I don't actually predict the market or anything like that. But it takes a good breakout like this with good volume after a consolidation period before I buy. Once I buy, I usually increase my positions as we go. So here I didn't get in. I could see there was a reversal pattern happen here. You could see that nice green volume there. The next buy, if you wanted to play it really quite risky, would have been this day here. But the real entry would have been this day here. So anyway, I got more on my position right there. So this here, going back to this here, so what we need to see here by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning is the volume increase and at least increase to above the previous day, and for it to close above the 8 EMA, which is the black line. If we see this increase and go above the above average volume, then that's even better. That's a better sign. So that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. So the four things that I mainly look out for are, the volume is that will tell you every day where the big money is, where the big money is playing. So I kind of traded, all the way through here. Had my entries and exits and stuff like that. I was quite wary the whole time around here, even though I was making profits. So I was still trading well, and but I kind of fizzled out here. I just didn't want to play the game anymore. There was something wrong with the market, and I didn't really like the way the volume was, just everything was very negative and not telling me the right stories. So anyway, I stayed out of the market until this day here. And I don't like to predict anything that goes on with the markets, that's not the game that I'm in. But I do have to say that I have seen these kind of patterns before trade and go to extraordinary heights. And if you look here, this here is a huge accumulation pattern. There's a lot of money that's come into the market in this here. Like the big boys have been, buying here. We haven't even seen the real big money come into the market yet. and we can tell that through the volume. So I'm still waiting for big money to come into the market. There should be a lot more than this coming in. Anyway, that's probably it for about Bitcoin. So 7,900. We'll see where it plays out. But I'm also expecting, like we might even get to around about 10 grand and hover around, come back down to 7/8, something like that. There are resistance areas that I'm looking out for as well. But I do think that Bitcoin it's doing the right things for a bull market, for a good move. I'll just go into a couple of others and we'll just have a quick squiz at those. I'm in other markets too. Actually, I'm mostly in other markets than what I am Bitcoin. You find that the better movers, the faster money is in the other markets. So if we have a look here, there's a classic cut with a handle here, and then we can see that the volume died off in the handle, which is great. And we had a spike in volume on that day there, and we took off up, which is all pretty good. It's all looking pretty good over there too. That's Bitcoin Gold. EOS is one of my favorites. I don't even have Ethereum and that on here, but anyway, EOS. Yes, I made some very good gains with EOS. This is a classic cut with handle here. This is very good with EOS. I'll just draw this one out. So this one, it would probably go up to there and then come down to here. So as we can see, the cup is a long cup. So there's, like some, the selling dried out here, and you can see that the volume, the buyers started coming, the big money started coming back in there. Even though the big money came up like a push towards the 200. Now that was resistance at that stage. So you could have expected some sort of reversal, but now this is, I also follow a guy called Steve Bigelow. I'd highly recommend checking out his work. He calls this a bobble pattern, which basically, if you go up and hit a major resistance like the 200 and then come back down and then break through it, this here would have been the entry day right here. And you can see the volume and, that was your buying day right there. And then anyway, it kind of goes up and then comes back down. So, but even in the handle, you can see there's a decline in volume from there down to there. So that's, each volume stick contains huge amounts of money. It doesn't look very big, but every single volume day counts. So if we have a look at this huge accumulation pattern for EOS, and then coming back down to the handle, volume drying up, and then we have a breakout. So yeah, beautiful. I'm really liking what EOS is. The chart with EOS is saying as well. I should have showed you my last trades with EOS, even though it's 6 months ago. But like making 70% and stuff like that in 2 days, 4 days, or whatever it was. Okay, now. IOTA, Internet of Things. This here, there's some really, really big players that are behind this Internet of Things. But anyway, we've had a great breakout. Look at all that accumulation with the volume there. It's fantastic. It's what do you say? It just looks awesome. Anyway, that's a buy. That candle right there, that was the buy. So this is another bubble pattern as well. We've got good accumulation down here. It's pretty flat. Then it comes back down and then breaks through there. And so we're up there. So now I'm looking at this staying above the 8 EMA. But one thing that we don't have here is, one thing that we do have is we have congestion with the moving averages. But these have been traveling under. Now it looks like they're going to be traveling over. So obviously we've got the 20 breaking out first, and then we'll have the 50 breaking out thereafter. Usually what we see is some sort of a pullback to previous highs, or even the 20 moving average. But it doesn't have to be here. It can be like, once it reaches a little bit higher. I'll just go through a few more of these. I don't want to, bore you and have this video go for too long or anything like that. But the 4 things that I study are volume, because that's how you get to follow the big money. So many people don't know how to read volume, and they don't read volume correctly, and they don't even think the volume matters. But volume will tell you whether the big money is going into a market or out of a market before it actually happens. So while all the mums and dads are betting and gambling in cryptocurrencies or whatever market they want to gamble in, they think, oh yeah, okay, I'll get in now because it feels good, or I get out now because it feels good, or so anyway, that's what they do. Whereas if you look at the big money, you'll see the volume. Like there'll be a big selling day, but the market will still go up. But that big selling day, with the volume, is a clear indication that the big money is pulling out. So it's something to clearly watch out for. As you can see here, like we have had some days that, there's been some big selling days, above average volume on the selling. Now, we do have to watch out for those, that's for sure. And we do have an increase in the volume here. So with today, like we're on Litecoin 92, Litecoin's a huge one. Like there's so many people love Litecoin. But if we have above average volume with Litecoin on this one here, I would seriously be considering, if I held a position, of setting very close stops or getting out. Anyway, but I wouldn't be getting out until end of day data. And that would be 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Monday morning. Neo's another favourite. Everyone loves Neo. Cheap as chips, Neo. I think Neo's great. But one thing that I do see with Neo here that I don't really like very much is that we've got a big cup here, and we've got a decline that goes back below, and then up and then down. So this actually looks to be reasonably confused. I would actually almost hesitate to, if I was looking at buying Neo, I'd be a little bit hesitant about this, simply because the chart just looks okay. There's a lot better deals out there. Dom and I were talking about it the other day and saying, should we get Neo? Anyway, we looked at it, and anyway, the general consensus was a no. Just looking at it doesn't look very good. So now onto Quantum. Quantum is another one. It's a good one, but that's like looking very much like Neo as well. It's kind of gone below the 50, and it looks more like sideways kind of stuff as well. But you can see that these are very sporadic. Like what we're talking about. So we're looking at I've taken all my markers down from there. So we're looking at the high of $3.72, and down here we're looking at a low of $1.60. So that's a 50%, easy 50% in 4 days. So there's some easy trades to be made in this if you know what to do. If you're going to trade the 4-hour chart, but I wouldn't recommend the 4-hour chart. End of day data is good enough. If you get on a bull run, end of day data, you'll make enough money. Going on to Tron. Tron's huge in Asia. Everyone loves Tron over there. But one thing I found with Tron as well is it's kind of like, it's like, okay, there's good accumulation here. And the good thing is that we're traveling above the 200, but, we haven't seen a solid breakout. So Tron isn't, and also having a look at the volume down here, let's just have a closer look at that, shall we? There's some people that aren't quite sure, and they're big money too, that aren't quite sure what's going on with Tron, So anyway, I wouldn't be, but there also is a decline in the volume as well. So, it'll be interesting to see how we go tomorrow. But yeah, Tron is okay at this stage. I wouldn't be, fully jumping into Tron. By the way, I wouldn't recommend anyone do anything that I'm doing. But just because it worked for me before doesn't mean it'll work again. But then again, last time when it did work, it worked super well. Okay, this here is a very solid breakout. This is Stellar Lumens. Now, there's a lot of the big institutions and corporations love Stellar Lumens because they're focused on the third world countries that can't afford to get banking. So anyway, the ones that can't afford a bank account, Stellar Lumens is supplied, or trying to supply a way for them to be able to send money home. Let's say there's a third world country and husband's gone away to work and gets paid $100 a week or whatever it is, wants to send $80 a week back home. Anyway, doing it through bank transactions, you're going to lose 50% of his wages. So Stellar Lumens have done it. So it's, micro cents in order to transfer. I think, it's been a while since I've been in Stellar Lumens. I actually don't use it to, transport money around. I actually just get into it for the ride, basically. But Stellar Lumens, that's having a cracker. I like Stellar Lumens. The only thing that I could say that's, two things about it that I could say that are negative is that the handle has come down too far percentage-wise for the low of the base. So we want a high handle. I'll go back to Bitcoin and show you what a high handle is. This is a low handle. Comes down too low. And also the 200-day, that's the longest term moving average, is still on a downer. But this is a solid breakout. But one thing I will say about the candle here as well with Stellar Lumens is that we've had two monster breakouts and then we had indecision. This is a spinning top. So this basically means that there was a big argument between the bulls wanting to buy and then the bulls taking profit and the bears wanting to sell and opening short positions. So when the market opened the next day, so this here, when it closed below here, say 13.88 cents, that would have been your stop, 13.87 cents. And anyway, so it opened here, traveled up, and then as soon as it broke down below that 13.87 cents, that was your exit right there. Another good thing that we see with Stellar Lumens as well is even though they're selling, there's a reduction in selling, so which is very positive. Also, if we see this close above, this green one close above, that's a classic reversal pattern on the 8 EMA, which is also very good. Exponential moving average EMA. Monero, everyone loves Monero. This one here is the only cryptocurrency. So when you buy Monero, you're better off just buying Monero in a wallet, because when you do that, nobody else knows you own it. This is the only secret money that you can have besides gold and silver. I would highly recommend gold and silver as well to anyone, just to keep Big Brother from watching every single dollar that you own. Anyway, call me a conspiracy theorist. I just don't like everyone knowing, where I'm at, or anyone knowing really where I'm at. So I'm sure it's going to weird some people out, but this here is a classic cup with handle. It's come up there and it's come down to the 50. This here, I love it. Okay, so we've had an increase in buying here. We've had a big selling day, but it only came down to the 8 EMA. And then we've had 3 big selling days. Now, it's only these two here where the volume's picked up. Now, one thing to be concerned about as well is that we've got not too much selling happening on this reversal day here, but there's more on the next day, which that's the concern. So there is a bit of a concern here, which basically says to me that this, even though it's looking positive now, it doesn't mean it's going to end positive. See, let's just say, for example, you thought that, I'm not going to worry about this end of day data. I'm just going to buy whenever I want. Let's just say you were to buy here, like, where the candle is now at 86.06. That's what it's saying on this one here, but 86.08. So let's just say you were to buy there. Tomorrow morning, you could very well wake up and this reversal continuation pattern has turned around and come back down and heading towards the 50 like it has here. Bounce, bounce, bounce on the 50. The last thing you want to do is go against the rules. So I found that the rules work, a lot more times than they don't. So anyway, that's I trade by the rules, and end of day data is what I trade. It takes me about 20 minutes a day, and I make my decisions and I walk away. Of course, I set my stops, I set my alerts and stuff like that. So I get a text if someone's misbehaving in class. I get a text and find out what they're doing and go from there. Okay, Ripple. All the bankers love Ripple. I don't like Ripple at all, but it's a fantastic one to trade. So Ripple here, I think Ripple has a very, very bright future just because of all the counterfeit printed currencies that the governments control. They can print as much of that stuff as they want and buy Ripple. And this coin has been supplied for banks. So for big banking institutions. So, but we can see what Ripple did before, like we're talking 23 cents, all the way up to, if I get it right, where we have a high of $3.30. So 23 cents to $3.30 in around about 5 weeks. So we're talking, what's that, 4, 8, 12, 13 times or 14 times your money or something like that in 5 weeks. Now, even if you got 50% of that, like I don't, like I never kid myself and think that I'm going to get all of it, from the bottom to the top. That's just dreaming. All you to do is get a little bit of the meat in the middle. That's all you got to get with your trades. And for the trades, I don't like to do, quick in and out trades. I generally like, to buy and then add to the position. Buy, then add to the position. Verge, there's a lot of big money supporting Verge. Or actually there was. I haven't really looked too deep into it. But here, I do like the volume on Verge. We've got 3 bullish volume days here and good candles. Then we've got a big reversal pattern, like happened there. But the volume just didn't, the sellers just weren't in it the next day. So, but, just opening that up a little bit, but it's very sporadic. But you can see, the movement here. Like, does this mean that we're going to settle down and fizzle off into nothing again? Or, is this the start of something a little bit bigger? Who knows? But as I said, I don't predict the market. I just follow it. Zcash, I believe Zcash was a very good chart last time I looked. We'll have a look. Yep, Zcash is looking good. So now if we have a look at the cup with handle, so we could even draw it from the low there up to there and then have that there, even though that the handle came down a little bit low. Usually when the handle comes down a little bit low, it's a signal that there's a little bit of weakness in the decision of buying. That's all that means. But as you can see with this here, it bounces off the 8 EMA. We've got a good reversal there. If this holds up for tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I'll probably end up having a look. But the volume definitely has to be higher than the previous day and preferably the previous 2 days. That would signify to me that there's more money coming into this money than going out. You want to have volume on your side, the candles on your side, moving averages on your side, and you want something definite to tell you that the market's turned, not just some sort of it looks all right. That's not good enough. You need to have a lot of variations in your favor. This, what I'm talking about, only works around about, probably 7 times out of 10. So, and that's on a bull market. So as you can see here, this cup with handle that I've drawn out here, this is on a bull market. Now, this is the beginning stages of a bull market. Now, from a breakout, no bull market has ever started without one of these, and also the volume confirming. So, it's good to be in, good time to be in. But it doesn't mean that you just kind of put your money in there and forget about it, because you might, no one knows what this market's going to do. You just got to follow and then, act accordingly, 10 o'clock each morning. Anyway, I hope I haven't bored you too much. For those that were interested, I hope you got something out of it. I'm not going to do these all the time. I'm just going to put something up every now and then, and I'm actually going to be doing it more on an email basis like I did last bull rally. So, I've got some subscribers that I email, but anyway, just so I don't bore everyone. I've got other things that I'm focusing on anyway, so only 20 minutes a day on this thing. So, all right, I hope you're all keeping well, and I'll talk to you soon.